But we're going to get into the student loans. It shouldn't be too long of an episode. Apparently, they withdrew the student loan forgiveness plans. What is going on? I said this is a short article. Biden administration withdraws student loan forgiveness plans. What borrowers should know. What you should know is if you've been listening to me since we dropped this podcast, y'all probably would have paid y'all student loans off by now. All right, again, this is December 23rd, 2024. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, all that jolly good stuff to everybody. I do want to say this. They've been talking about student loan forgiveness since definitely 2020 when they were running the Biden administration, but maybe even 2019. Okay, now we're fast forwarding 4 years now, over 4 years since President Biden has been at least elected. And they're talking about, we're going to get rid of student loans. Didn't the student loan forgiveness not happen? What's this, last year? It's hard for me to remember now. This is, I believe, last year when they ruled on the student loan forgiveness. Or was it this year? I can't even remember because I've done so much student loan content. But anyways, it's by Annie Nova. At good old faithful CNBC. Biden administration has withdrawn 2 major plans to deliver the student loan forgiveness to millions of Americans. See, I've been dealing with student loans so long. I've helped so many clients. I didn't help clients know they were well versed in this, but then they paid them off. So I don't even get any more updates now. I just know that the last I heard, there was an issue with the student loans restarting and the loans transferring over to providers, all this other crap. But hey, here's what borrowers should know. The Biden administration has withdrawn 2 major plans for student loan forgiveness. The proposed regulations would have allowed the Secretary of the U.S. Department of Education to cancel student loans for several group of borrowers, including those who have been in repayment for decades and others experiencing financial hardship. See, this is going to be a short episode. It needs to be. I think that why don't we create a situation where people won't be in repayment for decades and put people in a situation where they're experiencing financial hardships? I know that people shouldn't even get student loans in the first place, but there at least should be some type of logic put in front of people of, hey, this is the degree field you're entering. This is how much this degree is going to cost if you're going to this particular institution, tuition-wise, and/or if you're just deciding to stay on campus, it costs more to stay on campus. And this is a projected income, at least in the area that you think you're going to live in, or at least in this particular area with this degree, for the type of fields that people with this degree usually go into. And this is how much you're projected to make. You can easily run that type of stuff out, do benefits, things like that, and say, this is how much money you're going to have left, sort of, in discretionary income. This is how much your student loan payment is going to be, And if you want to pay it off faster than this, then this might not be the field for you / the degree for you, or you might need to pay for this another type of way without taking out student loan debt. I think when you're talking about people who've been paying it for decades means it's plural. So that's 20 years. Most people, even though there are people with egregious amounts of student loan debt over the 6 figures, well into the 6 figures, most people don't have student loan debt of 6 figures as far as when they graduate. And we talking about people who've been paying on it for decades. That means they're talking about people who've been paying it since 2004 and earlier. Those people are not people with six figures in student loan debt unless they're in the lawyer or doctor type of field. Most people who talk about graduating in the early 2000s, they went to school, they graduated high school in the late 90s, early 2000s. They're not the people that are talking about where they're having the 6 figures in student loan debt when they graduated. Now, they might have been in a position where they haven't been paying back their student loan debt, and so, or they've been in a negative AM situation, so their total balance has grown to an enormous amount. But most of these people, when they talk about for decades at least, these people aren't graduating with 6 figures student loan debt because college, it didn't cost that much back then, at least for a bachelor's. I'm speaking here. The combined policies could have reduced or eliminated education debts of millions of Americans. They're still trying to find a way to get the student loan debt forgiven, even though the Supreme Court already ruled on it. That was a particular forgiveness that was it the 10,000 and 20,000 if you had a Pell Grant type of forgiveness. But hey, it is what it is. The Education Department posted notices in the Federal Register on Friday, this is last Friday, that it was withdrawing the plans weeks before President-elect Trump enters the White House. The department wrote that it was terminating the rulemaking proceeding due to operational challenges and implementing the proposals. It said it would commit its limited operational resources in these final weeks of the administration to helping at-risk borrowers return to repayment successfully. See, I know there's going to be a new Secretary of Education. They're talking about getting rid of certainly talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, but regardless, I'm not sure exactly how the Federal Registry. I'm saying it's posted this, so I'm not sure exactly how everyone who isn't the Secretary of Education is going to be impacted with the administration changing over. But they might just be thinking, hey, look, we got a new boss coming in, and we might not need to do this. But you think they might have tried to get it through, but they probably knew they weren't going to be able to get it passed. You got the entire government going to be red going into the next year. There's simple logic here. The Education Department did not immediately respond to requests for comment. I bet the Biden administration knew that the proposals for broad student loan forgiveness would have been thwarted by the Trump administration, said higher education. Again, I don't read these articles ahead of time for the new listeners. So again, that's not exactly my point here. So anything, yeah, they likely might have implemented something, but it might not have been passed before the inauguration. So long story short, they just would have got shot down, for lack of a better term. Shout out to the drones, but it would just got shot down. It got shot down once the new year started with all the transition that's going to happen at the federal level. Trump is a vocal critic of student loan forgiveness, and on the campaign trail, he said he called President Biden's efforts vile and not even legal. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what he's saying the efforts were that were vile, but as far as not being legal, I mean, the Supreme Court already ruled that the initial big forgiveness that President Biden ran on and what they tried to get passed that kicked up all the Supreme Court was a $10,000 in forgiveness, which was going to impact, I believe, 40,000 borrowers, or 40,000, 40%. They were saying of borrowers had $10,000 or less. And then maybe it was with the 20K as well, but then 20K, you would get 20K forgiven if you had the Pell Grant. And to go to college. And I think when you see those type of numbers where you're saying in short, let's just say it was 20K and lower, had 40% of people had less than $20,000 or less, because they were saying that was going to make all those people be completely rid of student loan debt. But I also said too, that might be student loan debt for you, but what about the Parent Plus loans that I think really aren't talked about in the situation when we talk about student loan debt? But I think that, I know for a fact the Supreme Court ruled and said that student loan forgiveness was not going to be legal. And I think sort of like this last ditch effort to try to get something passed, but it's too late because, Trump's going to be president in less than a month now. So I think it's kind of interesting to see that when people complain about what now, like Trump, when he's going into office, we already did the episode about, the grocery prices not being able to be lowered and things of that nature, and seeing what he ran on. I say all the time, what happened to the student loan forgiveness from President Biden? That did not happen. You know what I mean? And he tried to do, this last effort and still not going through. Biden's latest plans became known as kind of a plan. This is more than a plan B. This is like plan C, plan D, plan E. I mean, like all these various different student loan programs have just all been a failed effort.